What we've got here is a very basic drum and bass part. And what we want to do is to route the kick drum to the bass guitar so that we can duck the bass guitar every time the kick drum hits. Now, our first problem is that by default, most VST drum instruments output all their drums to a stereo pair. And we can see that here in Perfect Drums, but the same thing will apply if you're using Addictive Drummer or Easy Drummer or any other VSTi. Let's look at the mixer, and we can see here everything is routed to 1 and 2. So the way we turn our VST instrument into a multi-track instrument within Reaper is very straightforward. We right-click on the instance of the instrument and we go down to where it says Build Multi-Channel Routing for Output of Selected Effects. And if we click that, Reaper will create all the extra tracks that we need. But if we play the drums now, everything is still only routing out to channel 1. We can keep the kick drum going out to channel 1. Let's move the snare to 3 and 4. Let's move the toms to 5 and 6. And let's move all the overhead stuff to 7 and 8. Now if we solo, we can hear that the kick drum is coming out on its own. On this track we've got the snare on its own. On this track we've got the overheads on their own, and in this one we have the toms. Okay, Reaper made a lot of extra tracks that we won't actually need, so let's just delete them to keep things clear, and I'll rename these tracks. So step 1 is complete. We now have a multi-channel output on our drums. Now, there are advantages to having your drum kit set up like this anyway, even if you're not using Trackspacer. We can now individually process each drum, put some compression on the snare, some EQ on the kick drum, and so on. So let's route the kick drum here to the bass guitar here. In Reaper, we do this simply by dragging the route button from the kick drum to the bass guitar. A dialog will open. Now, we don't want to send any MIDI, and we want to send all the audio from channel 1 and 2 on the kick drum to channel 3 and 4, which are the default sidechain channels in Reaper. So that's step 2 complete. Now if we open up our bass guitar, we can now add Trackspacer to the track, and let's see if we are actually receiving any sidechain from the drums. Yes, and we are. Let's solo the bass guitar so that we can hear the effect. Now that sounds like too much because it's also affecting the top end. We really only wanted to react to the fundamental of the kick drum. So let's pull the high cut down until we're just getting the fundamental of the kick drum. And let's try it a bit more. I think that's probably too much. We'll back it down to here. We can use the delta function within Reaper to hear what's actually being taken away from the bass guitar. So every time the kick drum hits, this amount of bass guitar is being taken away. Let's hear it now with the drums. And that's it. We now have a sidechain set up for Trackspacer in Reaper, and the bass guitar is reacting to the kick drum. Thanks guys for watching.